Have a couple of blocks ready for this practice today, and we are going to start standing. So probably be about a 30 to 40-minute practice. For mountain pose, let's breathe the arms up and exhale the arms down. We'll do that a couple more times just to start to move on or with the breath. And last one. And then just let your hands land just at the upper part of the back of the legs and breathe in just to expand and open through the chest, which implies that your shoulder blades are retracting toward one another at the back. And then on an exhale, we'll lean forward or hinge forward, I guess, at the hips. Breathe up halfway. And then exhale back into that full forward fold. And then come all the way up as you breathe in. Okay, we'll just do a side view of this. We're going to breathe in, a little bit of retraction of the shoulder blades. Then I'm hinging at the hips to forward fold. There's a little bit of a rounding of the back as you deepen that forward fold. I'm going to bring my hands to the shins. Breathe in, flatten through the back. And then again, exhale out over the legs. Then my hands come to the backs of the legs with a nice flat back and come all the way back up. And exhale. We'll go through that sequence one more time. Breathe in, forward fold. Breathe up to halfway. And full forward fold. So from here, just have your blocks at the top of the mat. And we'll step the right foot back, left leg forward. Coming into a lunge position. So the back of my back leg extended back is straight. And you can just bend that front knee a little bit, move in and out of it a little bit if that feels good. And then let's just hold the pause the position or hold the position. And you can see now I've got my hands on the blocks. So just kind of put the tops of my knuckles there. But I want to make sure that I'm not hunching up through the shoulders. So just try and keep it nice and long and straight. Okay, and then we'll come up and we'll just pivot through the center, or you can stand to the top of the mat and just change the feet. And then we're going to go that left leg back now, right leg forward. Kind of like sink into the lunge and then maybe back off. And just kind of do what kind of feels good in your body. If you want to just hold the pose, then hold it. But if you feel like it's nice to kind of move in and out, then do the move in and out thing. And then I've got my hands on the blocks that are just right underneath the arms or shoulders. I'm going to straighten that leg and I'm going to turn to a wide leg forward fold. And then there, we're going to come all the way back up again. And then forward fold as you exhale. And then have the block in the center here and bring your hand onto the block so it's directly underneath your face. And then we'll bring the right hand onto the back, onto the sacrum, and then we'll rotate the ribs to the right. And actually, if you're even noticing that maybe it's tight on the backs of your legs, what you could do is just slightly bend the knees. And the most important part to remember is that we're actually just starting to improve this rib rotation. Maybe there's a little bit of retraction of the right shoulder blade. And bring yourself to the center. Maybe bringing your hands right onto the floor underneath your shoulders, and then we'll bring the right hand up onto the block, left hand onto the back. Inhale, and then we'll exhale. And again, it's the rib rotation or the twist of the ribs that we're looking to improve here. So you may even come out of it a little ways. And then you can even bring your hands to the ribs and guide them around, maybe a softening of both knees. And then we'll bring ourselves back to the center and again, place the hands to the floor. And we'll turn that left foot all the way around, step to down dog. And then we'll bring the knees to the floor and we'll bring the whole body to the floor. Have your your hands just in line with the ribs. And then gently drop the elbows toward the floor. Feel the scapulas moving toward one another as you pull the chest forward and then back down. So you're creating space through the vertebrae. And then we'll do it one more time. And then exhale the chest down again. And then we'll put a little bit of weight into the hands. We're going to push ourselves back up. Move into child's pose with the arms fully extended. Then come up and we'll move back into down dog. Step your left foot forward, right foot forward, into that forward fold again, up halfway. Full forward fold. And then all the way up as you breathe in. I have enough room for my arm with that door there. So I'm going to turn to a wide leg again, turning my left leg bone out. And from here, I'm going to move myself into warrior two. And then drop to the side and reach across. And take a few breaths in this wide angle pose. Side angle pose. You were saying something wrong. And release the arm to the hip, and then we'll bring ourselves up. And then just turn your leg bones so the face in the front. Just take a little bit of a recovery breath here. And then we'll go to the other side. So I'm going to turn to my right leg. A little bit of an angle, internal rotation of the back leg too. And bend the knee. The direction of the knee is pointing either outward or inward, depending on which way the leg bone is moving in the hip socket. So preferably you would want it more going into external rotation. You want to collapse the knee in. Warrior two and extended side angle. And now because you've kind of created this shape in your body where we've created some access to bring the breath into the left ribs, while maintaining a nice foundation through your legs, through the 3 points of the bottoms of each of your feet. And then you can come back up, pause in your warrior two, release the arms, and come to mountain pose one more time, just bringing yourself back to center. And then we'll take warrior one. So if you step at the top of your mat and bring your right leg back, and it could externally rotate a little bit, which changes the direction of your back foot. And then just even have your hands on the hips as you bend this front leg and breathe the arms up. Warrior one. Okay, bring the arms down. We'll straighten the leg and back into your mountain pose. So you should just start noticing little shifts, small shifts in your energy field. Let's try the other side. So now I've got my left foot back, right leg forward. And just even to move into the pose, I just bring my hands to rest on the hips and bring the awareness down from the hips, down through the legs and into the 3 points of the bottoms of the feet. And I'm going to bend the right leg. And again, that movement of the leg at the hip bone into the hip socket determines whether the knee's in or out, even in this warrior one position. So again, a little bit more external rotation to keep the knee protected. Bring the arms up. Breathe nicely and softly into the ribs. And one more breath. And we'll release the arms down and straighten the front leg and turn yourself back to wide leg, hinge at the hips, going into wide leg forward fold. You can sweep your arms behind here into link the fingers and then just start to draw the arms away from the spine. And then we'll drop the hands down toward the floor. And then sweep them around at the backs of the legs. Draw yourselves all the way back up. And return into your mountain pose. Okay, so we'll just move into a forward fold. We're going to step the left foot forward, the right foot back. The same startup as we did for our warrior one. And we're going to bring the left hand onto the back as the right arm, as you bring the right arm up. I'm going to breathe in here. And I'm going to hinge at the hip moving forward. Fingertips can come down to brush the floor, or you could even place a block on the floor. And I'm going to come all the way back up as I breathe in. And then I'm going to forward fold again. Inhale all the way up. And fold out over the leg. And then you can either bring both hands to the floor. You could also bring both hands onto some blocks. And then just kind of really feel this kind of like the epicenter of the body at the hips. Feeling down through both of your legs, down through the tripods of the feet. And then you can just pause here with your hands on the blocks and just feel the shoulder blades gently retracting toward one another. So that is helpful to maintain a nice flat back. The other position of the arms is to bring them to the back, and if I'm over my left leg, catch and hold of the left wrist, keeping the chin in more toward the pit of the throat. Nice, easy breath. And I'm going to just bring my hands back down onto the blocks. And then we'll bring the blocks to the front. You can go in that wide leg forward fold again. And then come all the way back up. And then from here, we'll go to the other side. So now my left foot is the back, right leg forward. And then just kind of feel that sensation that kind of it all starts at the hips here. You can feel your breath moving into the torso. You can feel your scapulas, how they are moving on the ribs. We'll have the blocks ready at the top of the mat. Tripods of your feet, and we're going to have the right hand on the back. And I place the top of my hand on the back, and that's helpful just to keep that external rotation of the shoulder in the, or the arm in the shoulder socket. I'm going to bring the left arm up. I'm going to breathe in and fold. So your hand can come down to the block or all the way to the floor. It could be different from one side to the other. It's the back of the leg that's kind of the sticky part to getting the hand to the floor or not. Breathe in and come up. And fold out again. And we'll come all the way back up. And fold. And then you can bring your hands onto the blocks. And I'll just have them in a spot where I can bring my shoulder blades gently toward one another. And then I can just let go of the blocks and bring my hands to the back, grabbing a hold of my right wrist. And 3 nice, slow, long, deep breaths. I'm just going to bring the left hand out again, breathe in and come all the way back up. Release the arm, and then we'll turn again. So we're standing back into mounted pose. And then just bring your awareness all the way through the body. Noticing any shifts or changes in your energy, in your focus, your breath. Great. From here, we're going to come down onto our back. We'll have our blocks somewhere close by. And lower all the way down. We're going to have our feet on the floor, hip distance apart. And push your hips up as you sweep the arms overhead. And exhale, come down. And we'll go through that 3 more times. So the awareness pieces as we move in and out of bridge pose is that we're looking to be in the 3 points, the bottoms of the feet, center heel, ball of the foot, and the base of the baby toe. And then the other awareness piece is as you elevate the sit bones, notice what happens in your glutes as you elevate the sit bones. And there should be some engagement of the glutes as you elevate the hips. So what we'll do on this next one, so that was 4 in total, we're going to breathe the arms up, hips up, and then on an exhale, just lower the arms down. That could be just the suitable position for you now. If you would like, you can start to bring the shoulder blades toward one another, snugging them in. And then you'll notice that there's a little bit more space in my chest. You can stay there for another few breaths. And then I'll give you another option to be in a supported bridge. So you might do the in and out bridge first, the dynamic part of it. And then on the holding section, maybe you bring a block underneath your hips. Can feel quite nice. And if you're really up to it, then you could actually bring your hips up very high on the highest side of the block. And this is a huge part of the awareness piece of yoga in general, is that it isn't really about the way the pose looks, it's about how it feels in your body. And so if this felt kind of not quite right, then I would go down onto the lower side of the brick. And you want to be just nice and comfortable. And then whatever version that you've stayed in for a few breaths, let's release the support or the pose and bring yourselves back down onto the hips back down onto the floor. And from here, let's just draw the right leg in toward us. You can even bring your head up toward the knee. And then we'll go to the other side. Okay, so we've done a bunch of hinging at the hips and some of that stand-in work. And we've worked on the movement of the ribs relative to the hips. So now that we're on the floor, it's a great place to be to now start to move the hips relative to the ribs. So the variation that we'll do today is to bring your right leg up. I'm going to keep the left knee bent and start to do a little bit of movement of the leg bone moving in the hip socket. Because improving that movement is just overall a good movement to continue to do on a regular basis. So then as the leg bone moves into external rotation this time, I'm going to place my right foot or ankle onto the left leg, just above the knee. I'm going to pause there. And as I pause there, I'm going to go back into doing that movement of the leg bone in the hip socket. And the other awareness piece of this would be to take your right hand and just reach around and place it on your buttock and do that movement again. And you should notice that the glute actually grabs or contracts to do that leg movement. I'm going to stop that movement of the leg moving and just have your arms where they feel comfortable as you start to drop your legs to one side. And then through, and then over to the other side. I really love this one. It's helpful to be really aware of how deep you go into the twist. So I'm dropping my legs all the way to the floor, and I get a bunch of pulling in the opposite arm or the front of the shoulder, but that was likely an indication that you're going too far. So back it off to a space where the movement through the hips is not aggravating other muscle groups, including breath holding and grabbing your jaw or tightening your jaw or throwing your brow. Now, next time we drop the knees to the right side, let's pause there. Now, the other option here would be to have some supports where that right leg can actually rest on a block. And I'm going to bring the legs up and then I'm going to drop the knees over to the other side. And the awareness piece on this side would be just to Make sure that you maintain the shoulder girdle to rest. I'm going to say quietly on the floor. No strain. And then we'll bring the legs back up. And then we're going to do the other side. But just pull the left leg in toward you. And then extend it up toward the ceiling. And then do that movement. And what I would suggest is just bringing your awareness down to the top of the leg. You could even look at it moving in the socket of the hip. The movement of the leg bone moving in the socket of the hip changes the knee direction and the foot direction. So the next time my leg is in external rotation, I'm going to place the left foot on the right leg. And I know that sometimes there's that sort of urge to pull that down to get a deep stretch down in here, but let's just leave it and play around a little bit more here with that movement again of the leg bone and the pelvis. And you could even reach around to your glute and just notice what type of contraction is happening in the glute as you're moving that leg bone in the pelvis. And then from here, we're going to gently drop the knees to one side. And then over to the other side. And then notice any changes or differences on this side to what you had on the other side. And then if it feels good in your system, just hold maybe on one side into the rotation of the hips. Another side, couple of breaths. And back to center. And then we'll draw the knees in at the same time. Maybe bring your hands to the backs of the legs and do a gentle roll up. And then from here, you can place yourself on a set of blocks or a folded blanket, which I'm just going to go reach for right now. Even a cushion would work. So just grab a blanket here and close by. So you can see I've kind of made it at a nice even height. I'm going to pop myself in the middle of that and then cross my legs and maybe reposition a little bit. So we're going to go back to hips being straight as we rotate the ribs. And when you're doing this from a seated version, bring the hands together at the sternum. I'm just going to regulate my breath a moment or two here. And then I'm just going to gently start to turn or twist to the, in my case, the right. And then move to the left. And the key here is just go into a point where you pause, because that's the full distance that the body stops at as you move through the pose. And then we can go to that primary stop, and then we can bring so if I'm going to the right, I'm going to bring my left arm across, pulling my left arm into protraction, or the shoulder into protraction. And then I'll bring my right hand behind me. I'm going to take a breath. Everything's nice and soft. I'm not tugging or pulling at anything here. You can even bring your arm up and feel that retraction, retraction, retraction. And then maybe there's a little bit more movement at the ribs. But just notice if it's your chin that kind of wants to, or your head that wants to pull around. But what we want to think of is that it's the rib rotation that we're improving as we do a twist. And then in your fullest impression of this pose, you might retract the shoulder blade, the right shoulder blade. And then you might notice that the ribs have a little bit more freedom to move a little bit deeper. Okay, and then just allow the body to just kind of uncurl and take a pause at this center. Deep breath in, bring the hands into the heart center again. And then initially we'll move into the rotation to the point where the obliques kind of pause you there. And then you can just let your hands come down, that second stage. Then I'm going to bring the right arm up, line with the shoulder, and then you can start to work a little bit on that protraction. That's a reach, retraction. And then in the protracted part of the arm, we're going to bring that arm across and let it rest on the opposite leg. And then the left arm is behind. And then I bring the awareness into the ribs, doing the movement, or you could even think around the navel center. And the breath should be just nice and even and supple. Doesn't have to be, really efforted breath. And then maybe there's a little bit of retraction of the left shoulder blade. And then I'm just gonna let the body go and unravel. And then we'll move into Upavista Konasana. That's going to be your legs out in front, wide. And I can see I just repositioned myself a little bit on that folded blanket. Now remember that the wide leg forward fold or Upavista Konasana is a hinge at the hips. So if you feel like you're leading at the chin, back off a little bit and bring the awareness back to that hinge at the hips. Now you can soften the knees. They don't have to be fully straight, so soften the knees. And then just really hinge at the hips. The other thing is too, you could have some blocks and bring them right here and just rest your hands here. And take just a couple more breaths. Okay, back up. And then from here, you can lie down. We'll do about a 2-minute relaxation or integration. So I'm going to rest my head on a blanket and just give yourself time to allow the poses that we did to have an effect on your body and just be in this integrative pose or shavasana relaxation for 2 minutes. And really pay attention to the poses that we did and the effect that they have had on your body. Starting at what it feels, the sensations at your hips. Maybe scan the body down through your legs into your feet, and then scan your legs back up to the hips. And then starting again at the hips, scan your body up through the torso. And then allow the awareness now to go to both shoulders at the same time and down through the upper arms, elbows, and then your forearms and wrists. And then maybe even making a fist with your hands, just curling the fingers in and release. And then we'll bring the awareness back up through the arms to the neck. And then the back of your head resting on the floor. And then bring the awareness to the forehead. And then your eyes resting softly. Cheekbones. And your jaw, chin. And then all your head at the same time. Followed by all of the body at the same time. Oh, great. So you could stay a little bit longer, depending on what you would like to do for yourself today or how much time you have. And if it's the end of your practice, start to come back by making some movement through your fingers and toes. And then you can make your way to seated by bending your knees and rolling over to one of the sides that is the easiest to get to in the space that you're in. Come to a cross-legged seat. And bring the hands together. Namaste. Thank you for this practice, and I hope to see you again soon.